picture on the wall, and it makes me 10 feet tall. You know what it's meant to be. When you hold it, I can breathe. Take your mind and emotion. Reasons to be good. Reasons to be good. Reasons to be good. Reasons to be good. Hi, all you lovely people. How are you? Ooh, it's nice to be back. And it looks like the interwebs are going to behave quite nicely. I'm looking at, of course, my meter that usually tells me when things are going to go haywire, and it looks pretty good tonight. So I'm going to be confident and think that it's going to stay this way. But first, let's see who's on there. So let's pull up the chat real quick. Oh, well, here, I'll show yourselves. Why not? Because we can do that sort of thing. Hello, JPK Nights, TMT Mixes, Herb, Almi, Max, Sue. Nice to see you there. Going down. Jose, Todd, Carl. Not too many yet, but that's okay. Everybody's, look, Mom, I'm on TV. That's right. But thank you. Thank you for being here. No matter how many of you show up, it's all good. So it's going to be a little on the strange side, only because I feel strange, but that's just how it goes, right? I just spin Pink Floyd Wish You Were Here, and you played that. Yeah, right? I was right in the moment. So funny thing about that song too. It goes the other way around. It's supposed to be the song first, and then there's this entire atmospheric thing that comes that's about 6 minutes long, but I thought I would reverse it for tonight's stream. That's a song called Street Song, which is, I don't think I've ever played it on the stream, but it's just a demo. But there are things floating around in my hard drive that I pulled out of a hat. Oh, thank you. So I just got back from Chicago, as you may or may not know, and I've got a bunch of shows coming up. Well, before we get into all that, let me pull up my notes here, my handy dandy notes, because it is a fun thing. But there's obviously so much going on in this crazy world of ours that it's hard to escape it, of course. So rather than get into all these strange discussions that could take us into divisive directions, I've decided to focus tonight on the odder, punkier side of Abox to keep you on your toes, and to talk a little bit more about decentralization, which I think is an important topic given our state of the world and where we may be headed. So even though it's a strange subject, it is a subject that comes up in Abox songs unwillingly, or unwittingly, I should say. So, but anyway, before I begin, I will, before I begin talking about Chicago and the Abox tour dates, because there's like the last legs of the tour that are coming up, and then that's it for the year. Of course, things will start up in 24, but given certain things, I don't know how or when the next shows will come after the new year. So most definitely the last show, I believe, is in December. So So before I get started, I did mint something today. I have switched my minting days from Tuesdays to Thursdays, but I kind of reserved this one for the show, and I've made that minting live. So there are 27 editions, and here, I'll just show it to you because we're just going to start it right off, I suppose, even though that's not what I was intending to do, but it's okay because it's strange. So this is the piece for tonight. It's called The Uprising. It is a pixel graph, which is something that I worked on during the 2020/2021 time period. I'm not sure because I don't think I dated it, but I'm pretty sure this was 2020. And what I did is I made it into a artifact on Tezos, which if you don't know how to collect art on Tezos, well, you're kind of missing out. But if you're one of those folks that, wants like a physical thing, that's okay too, because I made posters of it. And all the posters, merch, and all the current dates, McAllen is coming up next, by the way. All the current dates, everything you need to know is on anythingbox.com. So I got that all out of the way because, it's one of those things. But I'll link the asset stuff right now so that it's in the chat at least. There is the link to the digital artifact. And while I'm at it, let me get you the link. Well, you already know the link to anythingbox.com, but just in case, so that it's in the chat and everybody knows. There we go. That's where all the current dates are. In fact, if you go and look, sorry, I'll chat capture that again. Oh man, I'm like slow again. But yeah, all the dates and ticket links for everything that's happening is right on the site. So right off the top of the, right off the bat, I'll just give you a few dates that are coming up. So this is the last leg of the Anything Box 2024. So Tuesday, November 21st, McAllen, Texas, Club Retro. A wonderful return to San Antonio at Sam's Burger Joint. I know it sounds like a burger joint, and it is a burger joint, but it's one of the nicest venues ever. I love playing there. Wednesday, November 22nd. Then, of course, how could I not end the year this way, especially given the time period? On Saturday, November 25th, I go to El Paso, Texas. And on December 2nd, I will be in Houston at ETRO. And that pretty much ends the tour schedule. And if you're interested in one of the posters, there's a 24 by 36, an 18 by 24, and even a metal print. So just to let you know, I've done all my shilling for the evening. So, although probably what's going to happen is I'll link the NFT side of things. But yeah. So anyway, so that's where we're at. So, yeah. I mean, oh, shoot, I did forget something. So if you're wondering how to collect on Tezos, because the reason that I'm going to talk about decentralized things a lot more this particular stream is because I feel it's really important to be decentralized in every way, shape, or form. Not joking. Absolutely true. So I talk about these things more when I feel outside pressure. And I'm starting to feel some outside pressure about the way information is being allowed or disallowed on normal internet. So to me, this is a problem. So I definitely like decentralized forms of finance, and I definitely like decentralized form of file transfers. I was always a fan of peer-to-peer, even though the rest of the world was like hating on MP3s. I was okay with it. Definitely am a decentralized sort of individual. So I do believe in it. So anyway, so I'll be harping on that a lot. But just wanted to give you one last link that I'm going to put on. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, yeah. I'm going to be spending all of Thanksgiving in the Texas region. That's what it's going to be. TMT mixes. Oh, Eric, yes. Definitely check out Eric's artwork on Tezos. It's great. Yeah. Are you telling me that it tells you that my website is infected with a virus? That's funny because it's not, but that is funny. That's funny. This is what we're gonna get to. They're gonna start like warning people that things have viruses that don't have viruses. But anyway, if you go to my Buy Me Coffee endpop, I put a link in the chat, and I'll probably put the link tomorrow when I upload this video proper. But that's where I have a little article on collecting on Tezos and, you know, how to get into the decentralized world, because whether you like it or not, it's coming. So here's a funny thing. I'm gonna get into this right off. Here's the funny thing about this whole thing. Whether you approve of crypto or a centralized, decentralized finance, it's coming. There's nothing we can really do about it. It's coming. So the question is, are you going to be centralized where the government controls your money, what you can post, what you can say, how you say it, or you get your bank account taken away? Or are you going to have a decentralized identity where no one can actually stop you from doing anything you need to do? So if you need to tell someone something, you can do it. If you want to release artwork that's, that's forbidden, you can still do it. If you want to release music that no other platform would take, you could still do it. These decentralized forms of releasing documents, audio, it's going to become more important when we lose the ability to function. And you're going to feel it at some point. You may not feel it now. It may not be something that you yourself are experiencing right now, because, I have friends that say, I have nothing bad to say, so therefore I'm not at risk. And I'm like, well, not really, because the minute you oppose a certain war, or you go pro-war, or you know how that goes, these things shift. And then suddenly you find yourself on the receiving side of the censorship. So it's a good idea to at least educate yourself in ways that you can remain private, a private, sovereign human on this planet. So that's one of the things we want to talk about tonight. And and you'll be able to call me and we'll talk and all that stuff while we're playing music. So anyway, I'm going to start things off with an obvious one, but Herb says, how can you be so logical and creative? Well, I don't know that I'm logical, but I do a lot of research. I love to spend time looking at things and searching down all the rabbit holes that people won't go to. Not the crazy rabbit holes, because the crazy rabbit holes are fun, but they don't yield facts. I like the rabbit holes that yield facts. But anyway, so I digress. But tonight you're going to hear music that is more on the punkier side, or I would say subversive side of Abox, a side that's not, it comes through here and there, but I think it shows its face a little bit more on certain records. So I'm going to start with a diary track from the second Diary album. And I think this one will set up the topic for the evening quite well. I'll put on the overhead. Doo-doo-doo. We'll put on some, I don't know, something. This? Yeah, that's good. The intro cube is fine. Here we go. Communication, derevolution. 2030s on the ground. Depression, regression, feels like the dream's been sold out. A revolution, shoot up a satellite. Communication breakdown now goes on. Mother watches her son die on TV. The satellite feeds war like an enemy. Who won the Oscars and why should you care less? Talk about the lost one, blood is sped. I see it, I breathe it, the death and decay. Following the footsteps of atomic cafe. Freedom is imagined, why should you care when they come down for you? A revolution, shoot up a satellite. Communication breakdown now goes on. I am the enemy. I'm not on TV, but I know how they pull the strings. A revolution, shoot up a satellite. Communication breakdown now goes on. A revolution, shoot up a satellite. Communication breakdown now goes on. Communication, the revolution. Communication, the revolution. Communication, the revolution starts today. Communication, de-revolution, baby. The funny thing is, a lot of people who follow me on Spotify have no idea that this project even exists, which is really funny. But anyway, but yeah, what happens is that, oh, thank you. We are Devo. I took tonight off just to catch the live stream. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Oh my God. A lot of people on YouTube tonight, which is awesome because it sounds much better on YouTube. Yeah, so I just got back from Chicago. And yes, I did want to talk about Chicago for a little bit because it was interesting. I did. Oh my gosh, I lost my notes. No, because, So no, I'm kidding. I don't need notes for this. But so, except that I have to look at the right camera. See what happens? Logical, you said. So Chicago was really interesting. My set was short. Everyone's set was only 15 minutes because it was like a showcase and basically an appearance. And I took it because the concept was something that I honestly, I didn't know much about it until I got there. But to give you sort of a heads up, the entire show ran from 1 o'clock in the afternoon, lunchtime, to 6 o'clock in the evening. And at first, I thought it was going to be some sort of outdoor thing, because that's what you would think if you have a show in the daytime, that it's going to be an outdoor kind of festival-ish looking feeling type thing. And it wasn't. It was actually an indoor concert, full-on lights, huge stage, completely sold out. From what I was told, it was sold out. And it looks sold out. Sound system was fantastic. They had visuals. I was able to do my visuals on several screens, which was pretty cool. And the sound was really fantastic. Sue says I broke it all the way down to a completely different vibe. Yeah, it was a strange vibe. I'll get into that too because it's a little on the bizarre side, but I just want to give you the interesting aspects that I loved. And this is why I think we should support such a thing. So my sound check, which normally on any given evening, is usually about 3 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and showtime is usually not till past 10. So, and 10 is being conservative because honestly, a show at 10 o'clock, I would kind of dig it at this point, but usually it winds up being more like 11 or midnight. The exception is San Antonio because that particular venue follows a schedule. So I think it is earlier in San Antonio, but most places that I play, it's usually a very late show, and Chicago especially. I'm used to going on at Chicago about 1 o'clock in the morning. And look, it's the way the job pays. It's the way that it's set up. I'm not happy about it, and I've never really liked it. I've never liked coming home after the gig, well, home being the hotel, but coming home like at 4 o'clock in the morning, waiting for the club to clear out before I can pack my stuff up. And usually, no joke, I am at the hotel by 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning. And usually I'll fly out the next day to the next gig. So that is really crazy, crazy scheduling. So it was very unique to arrive in Chicago and know that my sound check was literally at 11 a.m. That was crazy. So I had breakfast across the street from where I was staying. I even met a fan on the way there. And I was able to do my sound check. But because of the way it was set up, it looked like I was in a concert club atmosphere, and it was later. It's just that my body didn't think so. So I thought that was like pretty amazing. So anyway, so that's just sound check. Everything was great. But it was crazy to have a show. And granted, like I said, my set was extremely short. But even if I had played a full set, like I did the math, right? If I did my entire set, I would have been done by 6:30. Like if I went on at 4, so I probably would have been done by 6:30. So that would be like a fantastic show. You have your lunch, you go dance to some DJs, you have yourself a drink or two, have a really good time at a concert with a real concert atmosphere. And then when you leave, it's just dinner time. I like the idea. I champion that idea. I think that is going to be badass to do more shows like that. And I would just sign up. I would definitely sign up for something like that all the time because it was fun. Yeah. So as far as the interesting nature of the gig, it was mostly groups that were in the freestyle scene. So you would think I wouldn't fit in at all. But that isn't exactly true because as it was explained to me by some of the DJs that were there, which by the way, all the DJs were fantastic. They were great. All of them. There was even one DJ that was having a bit of some sound problems towards the end, but I actually thought he was like one of the best. So yeah, it was just fantastic. So anyway, I got talking to them and they told me that in their circles, living in oblivion was considered high energy at that time. So high energy and the freestyle thing went pretty well together, I guess. And so it was mixed into those things. So that's why I was invited. But I was definitely the odd man out in scope and, of course, in the way that I presented things because I had the ladder up there. I had a drum up there, and I was probably the only person that had instruments up there. So it was a little strange. So even for my short 15-minute set, it was fun. And I would do it 10 times over, but hopefully a much longer set. The other funny thing about the set, by the way, which is hilarious to me, is I had not looked at the schedule. So I thought that I had an hour set. So the entire week before I left for Chicago, I had practiced every day for about 2 to 3 hours as a 1 hour set. And so I had it down So you can imagine when I got to Chicago and I was handed my itinerary and I thought, yeah, I know, I'm always the last to know. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, wait, 4:40 to 5:10? What? Like what? Is that the time I go on? Like is that like I thought it was like just the variable between the time I go on. So I was not prepared for a short set. I had to like literally crunch down and think, what am I going to do? And instead of like trying to crunch down 3 songs or 4 songs to make them fit, which I could have gotten away with, but I didn't practice that. I opted in for 2 really long extended mixes and did my own little tiny little set, but it was fun. I still had a lot of fun. And I stayed for the whole thing so I could watch the other groups play. And I have to say, I enjoyed Alias quite a bit. I had fun talking to them backstage. We had a blast, and it was fun to see Crystal Waters again because I had played with Crystal Waters back in the day. See, we'd done something together, but it was more of a festival thing where there was different types of bands there. I don't know if there's videos of it. Herb asks on YouTube, is there videos of it? Um, I don't know. I'm sure there's some floating around. I was so nervous that I forgot to turn on my camera, although I got some good shots, although I haven't even looked at my camera since I got back because I was like going just cuckoo nuts trying to get everything done. Because it's hard to coordinate. It's harder to coordinate a 15-minute segment and think, where am I playing drums? Where am I doing the ladder thing? Like, can I rework this to make that work? And it was a bit of a hustle to get it to work, but in the end, I think it worked. But what was I going to tell you? So, oh yeah, so Crystal Waters and I did play in Florida at a festival once, and I did a Rock in Rio type thing in Brazil, and I played with Robin S as well. So it was fun. And so I think her performance was quite good, to be honest. So yeah. Anyway, I digress. Before I play the next track, let me tell you something. Oh my, it's that time again. I have to shill this because I'm so close. So look, I have a goal to get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Why? I don't know. It's just now it's become at first, all right, in case I didn't tell you this, but at first it was because YouTube allows merch to be sold on the channel if you hit 10,000 subscribers. Now they've given me that already. So they gave it to me early, which kind of tells me that they think I'll reach it, but it's just my own personal goal now. I just want to get there. Oh yeah, that's right. Cynthia was there too, and she was pretty good too. Yeah, like I said, there was quite a bit, but so yeah, exactly because it's a nice round number. That's why. So we're close. I have 178 people to go. That's it. I have, if I hit those last 178 people, I hit 2,000. But the biggest thing that happens, I think the algorithm opens things up a little bit. So that's kind of cool. Although, like I said, I've said it a million times and I'll say it a million times again. I am a creator, performer first. YouTuber is not on my list of like to-dos to like go into like some next phase of career type thing. It's not it. It's just that I do love this channel and I love hanging out with people, and the more the merrier. So to me, that's the big deal. But yeah, and in light of all that and the topic of decentralization, I think it's funny because I also have to be careful because YouTube is probably the most censorship aware platform there is, and it could go away at any moment. So it would be nice to hit the 10,000, say something completely terrible, and then get deplatformed. I would hate to be deplatformed before I hit the 10,000 mark. Does that make sense? But anyway, of course I'm joking, but you know, we have to like think about these things now. Oh man, it's funny. But Herb says, I'd like to see a collab with a freestyle gal and Claude. Their voices might be great together. Maybe Judy Torres, that you guys are funny. I don't know. I don't know. I would try anything though. So I'm going to play another diary track. Actually, no, it's not a diary track. It's an Anything Box track, but it sounds like a diary track because that's when the diary was fully absorbed. And this is probably the most subversive Abox song ever recorded. The chorus says it all. But so there is diary news. I think before I left for Chicago, I was talking about it, but I can't remember and I haven't watched the last stream. So this part right here might be a repeat. So in light of the recent Bandcamp news, and despite the Bandcamp news, I am bringing all the diary stuff into the Anything Box fold so that when you go to the Anything Box channel on Bandcamp, I still call them channels. I don't know, site, channel, whatever's. But yeah, so when you go to Bandcamp, you'll see the Abox albums and the diary albums will be there, all of them. And there are certain Abox albums that will be there. If I have CDs available for them, I might as well put them up because they're not doing any good in my garage. So I will be putting up some new stuff this week. And on as far as the diary albums are concerned, there's some B-sides and things that are not on those albums that will probably show up there. So keep an eye out on the Bandcamp page. And thank you for joining me on Box Camp Fridays, as they say. Yes. Oh, and that's right. So Todd, I have the two songs that we did not play when the interwebs went out, and I will be playing them. And it looks like our internet is doing quite well. Knock on wood. But so far, so good. But all right. So let's get right into it. This is Vile from Anything Box, of course. For this one, I think we'll do, yeah, sure, why not? This is good.
My name is Bill.
If I told you words meant anything, would this settle down? Just compute your calculations and never have a doubt. 'Cause if you're down on life again, you should recognize faceless attitudes of life. And if you won't just let it go, shake it off your shoes, you will see the day. Don't take offense, what I meant to say, abandonment's not free. The connection's broken anyway, simply walk away. But if you push me down again, put your fist away, there's no sympathy to sway. Stand down, grab your key, live your empty skin, you will see the day.
Sweet and short, but yeah, you get the idea. So that was from oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what album that's from. Um, yeah, there's been so many. I'll forget. Like I'll mix them all up. I'll be like, oh, was this Electrodelica? No, it's not Electrodelica. It's not even Universe. Stereo TV. The effects of stereo TV. Um, which is one of the only ones I still have some CDs left, of course, because nobody liked it. Seriously, all the Abox fans were like, "What are you doing?" Because there was a time where I just wanted to merge the two things. But, however, however, I had to go into those realms to separate the way that my head works to create things. And then it was like, then it became clear. It's sort of like you have to go into a blender, mix things up, and then you realize, okay, this flavor definitely doesn't go here, but it goes here really well. And I was able to separate things much better after that. And then, of course, oh, thank you. So thank you so much, Antonio. Thank you. So yeah, it is the punk side of me. See, I grew up with punk and new wave, so I love the idea of mixing the two things together, and so it worked for a while, but I think that it became difficult to play such things live. So what I did is I decided to keep them separate again. So the diary is more the goth punk side, and Abox sticks to electronics. But Abox is going into, weird ambient experimental realms now. And now the diary can go further into punk. So that's kind of how I see it. So anyway, there could be a fourth diary album at some point. They're a strange bunch, those albums. The first one I would say was gothy. The second one was definitely more punk and pop punk, or whatever that is. And the third was a full-on blues album. So that's how weird the diary is. So anyway, so those are all coming to Bandcamp. So I thought, tonight would be good to play some of those. But if you notice the theme of the lyrics, they are talking about not being shut up. And they're definitely talking about decentralization, which is, it's dear to my heart. So, look, you got to be honest. You have to have seen that when it comes to the realm of freedom of speech, this dissenting or the suppression of dissenting opinions. And this is a funny thing because at first you could read me and say, well, if you lean more conservative or you lean more, whatever the ism is, because honestly, there is no ism with me. I either believe in an issue or I don't. So it's not along party lines. It's sort of like my human line is where I measure things. So, but let's just say you're thinking of it in like, well, you're one of those conservative people or conservative types that thinks they got shit on. Not quite. I'm thinking about it from the point of view that the pendulum swings like this. You think it's here right now, and at any given moment, it goes here. And I can give you a really good example. In the early 80s, there was this whole thing about censoring albums because they contained certain lyrics that were very, they said no porn in lyrics, devil music, all this kind of stuff. If you go back, the people that were spearheading that, they actually weren't conservatives. It was Democrats. So it floats both directions. You think that it starts here and that if your opinion lies here, you're okay. But the pendulum can swing from an election. It could just be from international law. And in this case, it's through international law. So one of the things I've been noticing is that the WEF, which I'm not a fan of at all, I actually don't think that anything they've done, exactly, Al Gore's wife, Two Life Crew was the start. That's right. And see, here's the thing. Let's bring that up because it's funny. When I was doing music, back then, my immediate thought was, well, that is strong language. Kids shouldn't listen to it. You know, the PMRC shouldn't get, stickers on albums, but my stuff doesn't really do that. So, like, should I even worry? And see, that's a problem because I didn't think about it as how it would affect me. Because you're thinking of it, or I was thinking of it back then, as this form of censorship is really more for people like Two Live Crew that are talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. And yeah, some of the heavy metal people. So I thought it's not going to affect me because I'm not doing that kind of stuff. So why should I worry? I'm not in trouble. But slowly it dawned on me that I might someday say something that goes against the grain and then I'm the target. So that I should be aware that even though I may not like the lyrics or I may not like the opinions of certain people, I can't label that as you shouldn't exist or you should not have a voice because that actually destroys real discourse. And so it wouldn't be so bad, but I think it's funny that we're having this conversation in 2023 and not 1983. In 1983, it seemed, well, let me put it to you, it's that pesky logic, right? You would think that in 1983, that was the time to have the conversation because 84 was right around the corner. And if we didn't read 1984, man, we should. So if you haven't read, I'm going to tell you right now, there's 2 books you should read by Orwell. One that is never really talked about too much, and the other one that's overly talked about. So the overly talked about one is 1984. Definitely read it. And if you're not into reading books, go rent the movie because it's a really, really good movie too. But the other book that I found really interesting that Orwell wrote that I read was Animal Farm. Go read Animal Farm because that one is, I think, a little more telling of the way things work. At first, it seems everyone's on your side until you realize no one was really ever on your side. They were on their own side. So anyway, back to decentralization, because this is really the core of it. See, I'm not interested in like saying, I don't like that voice, shut that one up, don't shut me up though, or, this group is crazy, they shouldn't be speaking, that group is out of their minds, V versus anti-V, you know what I'm talking about. See, the fact that I have to say it that way already is like that, like I have to say juice, pro-juice versus anti-juice. Even by me having to do that, I'm already censoring myself. That's the crazy world we're in. So the reason for decentralization is that we can't just shut off voices that we don't want to hear. But more importantly, in my book, we don't want to shut off voices that are actually giving us truth or warnings of real things that are a problem. Whistleblowers are important. They're important for government. They're important for the people. They're important for our health. We may not like that a whistleblower comes through and then suddenly our favorite, politician X, whichever one you want to put into that list, suddenly becomes, but it's important that we have decentralization because once everything becomes centralized, there is no way to turn it back. Because once a power is acquired, it's very difficult for a government to give it up. Let's be honest. They're not going to give it up. I.e., we're still taking our shoes off and having to go through these weird lines at the airports. They said that was going to not be forever. It's pretty much been forever. So you can honestly say that those things don't ever get rolled back. So I think the red line's been drawn on the information side, though, because we lose a free and clear internet, we're done for. Nothing. We won't be able to believe a single thing we see, and I think we're already at that point. So it's time, right? At least propaganda will have a nice soundtrack. No, I do have TSA check-in. I actually got my number now. I had to go out and get it. But see, that's the thing, though. Even so, it's just there has to be better ways to mitigate things that don't involve infringements. And I think that as we keep going into this thing, we keep encroaching more and more and more to the point where we might not even be allowed to fly. We might not be allowed to speak, other than, getting our, stuff taken away from us. Oh, thank you for that. I don't think I would make a good president. But I always think that you should have advisors from the creative side in those cabinets. I'm a firm believer about that, let me tell you. But anyway, let me play you a song. Oh, and I just want to mention here, TMT Mix has mentioned Fahrenheit 451. I do love that book as well. I'm a huge Bradbury fan, by the way. So yeah, I definitely think. See, this is where we're at. So I think it's important for us to start. So here's how I would fight it before I play the next song. I'll just get into this part because it's an important thing. It's not so much that I can say from my little chair here and say, fight the power. And then, because, I really don't believe in that kind of thing where from here I'm saying something and really it goes nowhere. That's not what I want to do. So the way that I empower people is I try to get them into things that they may not have thought of. So one of the reasons I got into crypto and decentralized finance was the idea that no one can touch my wallet. It's my money. I can send it to whoever I want, regardless of what country they live in, whether the country's sanctioned or not, whether we're at war with that country or not currently, whether I care that we're at war or not. Because these are important things. What if I had relatives who decided to defect to Russia? That's an example. Not a real thing, but an example. Should I not be able to send them money now because we're in a proxy war? That doesn't make sense. I should still be able to support my own family. So this is where decentralized things come into play. Should I, as an artist from any of the, name whatever country you like that's currently at war, be censored and not have a voice just because our voice may be going against some narrative that's being spun in one way or the other? I don't think so. I think we need to hear those voices. I think we need to hear that art, even if we don't agree with it. So decentralized methods of delivery are very important. And the closer that all of us start to adopt Web3, the better it gets for us as people, because then it gives a little less power to the centralized force. So anyway, let's play a song before I forget. Oh man. So anyway, this one's a funny one. This is from Stereo TV 2. It's my favorite on there. This is one that I keep trying to play, but live, but every time I chicken out. So anyway, because that does happen to me too, So yeah. Here we go. This is Atlantis.
I can see. Although the future isn't free, I give in, you gave out, and this robot inside of my head, he's the right hand. I watch these lines stretch out to 10, falling from the ice beneath your skin. You will happy again. I survive, you survive, we will all survive. I can feel. There's always moments you can't heal. I don't want to go on. This is vain, this is wrong. Why are you still frightened? If you can hold me till the end, I will always call you friend. Just sense the pain. I survive, you survive, we will all survive.
Oh my gosh. So awesome. So yeah, back to decentralized world. So here's what I was thinking. I was thinking about the utility of NFTs because NFTs have a very special utility that isn't discussed really often. And that sounded like disgust, but I mean as in discussion. Oh, thank you, Max. So there's an interesting use case for NFTs that's not really talked about much. And I'm going to use Tezos as the example. For example, on Object, besides putting up paintings or videos or animated GIFs or, effects hash code bits, you can upload documents. You can upload to the decentralized web a PDF. So I was thinking, how would we be able to, could we have let's say, a central wallet, meaning it's central, but it's not. It's a decentralized wallet. But basically, it would be a wallet that whistleblowers could literally send their documents that they found, and they would send it to that wallet, and then it would show up on that collection on Tezos. And so then we could review documents that were, legal. I would say legal documents, meaning FOIA requests that are, that you can ask for and get, and then post them there with their original links, so that if the government or anyone decided to, quote, wipe them, you would have a decentralized, non-fungible record that this is where that document used to live, and this is the actual document itself, so that if the government says, no, that never existed, you know that it was real and that it did exist. And it would be still accessible to many, many human beings. So I thought about this, and I was trying to think of different ways to do it. One way that I would do it, the one that seemed the most obvious to me at first, was Tezos. But I've been thinking about the other Bitcoin too, Bitcoin BSV, because that one stores the information on chain, which is actually harder to disrupt. So my idea was, and I may do it, I may start a collection where FOIA things that I have found that I can send to that wallet, and then people can read them, because there are interesting things that sometimes I come across that bug me. Like someone will say, hey, you can trust the government. They've never done anything wrong. And it's like, I'll tell someone, well, have you ever heard that, they sprayed, flu viruses into the subways in New York? And they're like, oh, that's just conspiracy. I'm like, no, there's FOIA requests. You can actually see the actual plans for such a thing by the government itself. It's on the site. You can actually go find it, and it's right there. You could read it. And those kinds of things, then the person always wait, you're saying that it's real? You really can read it? I'm like, you can read it from the generals. You can read all the letters that were sent back and forth. You can read how much of it was implemented. It's real stuff. So whether you're into I'm not talking strictly, conspiracy stuff. If you want to know something and you think the government's hiding something, you can do a FOIA request. And FOIA requests, the problem that I see arising is, like I said, I was looking into WEF and the WHO more specifically, and they have these new outlines that they want governments to follow, where they go in and they redact or remove information that, in their eyes, you don't need to see. And I feel there's an attack on the FOIA stuff, meaning that if we want to know the truth about something, we won't even be able to request it anymore. And that scares me, because it means that then we wouldn't be able to see proof of something that happened. And to me, that doesn't fly. So I was thinking of decentralized ways that we could store the documents, grab them from the source where they're at, and then put them into some sort of decentralized file. So anyway, that was my thought. So as we're coming up on the hour, I will send you a link that I will put on here. I'm going to put the link. That's the article that I was looking at. It's a tiny little article, so it's nothing to, you don't have to worry about like writing home and that that it's going to take you forever to read it. It's a very short read, but let's see if I can get into it. But the stuff that I want to teach you is that there are ways to put files and keep them decentralized. And one of my favorites is the IPFS, or as I love to call it, not that I love to call it this is what it's really called, but I like calling it by its full name because it just sounds so sci-fi. I love the interplanetary file system. Think of the old days when we were doing MP3s. For those of you that were doing MP3s and finding songs that you liked and downloading all the full albums, don't pretend you didn't do it, because I know you did. I did. I'm confessing, I did it. So these are the kinds of things where it was difficult to stop it. So there's a lot of people. Sorry, I digress. See, the logic goes skews. But back to the MP3 thing for a second. Back in the day when we were all downloading stuff from each other, and it was peer to peer. This is why it was so difficult for agencies to track down who the perps were. So what did they do? They picked one or two people that they wanted to make examples of, sued them for a shit ton of money, and that pretty much destroyed the major corporations that were doing their stuff in a centralized format, meaning that the peer-to-peer sites you had to log into to get to your files, right? Oh, I bought a lot of CDs, man. So Todd on Facebook says, "Hey, I bought a lot of CDs though. I'm going to tell you, if the record companies had played their cards right, they could have avoided the whole thing by just not being assholes. Because this is how I used it for myself. I would go in, I would download all kinds of stuff that I had never heard of, and as I fell in love with stuff, I would make note of it, I would go order it, and I would buy it. This is how I actually grew my knowledge of different bands. I did it through doing it that way. And the same happens with software. I would try everything at my own pace, and then later I would go out and buy it. So, and then I would like shill the crap out of it too, which means that I was responsible for helping other people buy or, collect certain pieces of art, or I should say music and movies and whatnot. So here's a funny thing. The reason that they were able to shut it down was that the people running it, like let's say Napster, they were on a site that was on a centralized server. If Web3 and MP3s had come at the same time, that would never have happened. They would never have been able to shut it down. And I'm going to tell you guys a secret. All of those sites that used to be there to do all those torrents, they're still there. You could still find them, you can still log in, and you can still find stuff. I'm not lying, I'm telling you the truth. You could still find it. Believe me, I had a group of friends, we were all like hacking back and forth, and we were able to find almost anything. I can still almost find anything I want. But the difference is it's centralized, so there's a risk. But it's funny when you think about how these same things could be used for good, which is it makes it easier for a whistleblower to come forward and reveal something that's about to happen that could be potentially dangerous for the entire populace. Like, let's just pretend. Let's say that there was a lab that was producing some kind of strange virus, and one of the lab people was the guy that was working along all those other scientists who warned them all and said, hey, we shouldn't be playing with this. And they're like, it's okay. Nobody's going to find out. And he decides he's going to be the whistleblower to make sure that people find out, because this thing has a 50-50 kill rate. Most definitely, I want to hear from that guy. I don't want that guy to be shut up. And I could care less what happens to the big pharma company that developed the said thing. I could care less if that takes down an entire corporation because this one whistleblower came forward and released information that was literally detrimental to the public. So these are things that I find that Web3 does really well. So I think that these decentralized, formats. So again, I'm going to say it again, be it Tezos, which works off of the International Planetary File System. By the way, this is just saying, if you've ever collected something from me on Tezos, you are already using the IPFS, because the files, if you ever notice in your collection, there's a link that says view file on IPFS. That's actually the Interplanetary File System. You would access the original file and you could download it. Just so that you know, it's in your wallet, but that's that could be considered the receipt or the NFT. But if you want the actual file and you want to download it to your computer, you can go straight to the IPFS address and grab the high-res file from there. And the more you use it, the more you use IPFS, the more the nodes get spread out through the world. And it becomes kind of impossible to shut it down. And if the file exists on-chain, in the case of, like, let's say, Bitcoin BSV, which is not one of my favorite blockchains, by the way, but I do like it. What I like is that it's basically a Bitcoin fork, but with on-chain NFTs. And to me, that kind of still has some stirrings in my heart. I love stuff that, Sunny Me Love says, look at IQ blockchain. Project is doing the same concept to an extent. Cool. I will definitely look into that, because I'm thinking about starting to share my research, because I've been finding a lot of things that, well, to be honest, I've started doing that when I think it was 2008. I was always into it, and I'm good at searching for stuff. So some of the stuff I've found is really interesting, and I think, well, if someone's interested, there should be a place where they could find it. So I may start a FOIA collection on my Tezos wallet. Probably have the government knocking on my door. Why are you sharing these? I'm like, it's free, and it doesn't matter. Like, if I share it, you're supposed to. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, we've come up on the hour. So this next hour, I want to start off with the 2 tracks that I didn't get to play the last time we were on the air. And one of them was kind of cool because it was a World Without Love electroacoustic mix that I had reshaped from the original. But anyway, the first one is the piano version of Living in Oblivion, because someone had asked for it and I didn't get to play it last week. So I'm going to play it right now, and I'll turn on the overhead, and for 2 minutes we'll chat. We'll just chat. You know what I mean? I'm crazy. I'm really crazy.
So I ask again, am I so alone and full of pride to never speak out? This is my world, this is my world. I am so afraid of living in oblivion. I am so afraid of living in oblivion.
DJ Trip asks, has this ever been released? Ah, that's an interesting question. I think that this was on. I have to think about it. I think it was on the CD single that was limited edition. I think it was on that. And it definitely showed up on Mixology 1, which was like, our homegrown fans only CD. That's funny, I said fans only. But yeah, but for fans only CD. That was back in 1993 or 4. It showed up there too. But, anyway. But yeah, it's see, that's one of those things that eventually all those things should be available, right? I want to make them all archived so that everybody can have them when I'm long gone. So, Sunny Love says, love the idea of storing information and knowledge that they strive to remove and hide into our own wallets and blockchains of our liking. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Because then it would be very difficult for them to, let's say, them. Who's them? We should get that out of the way because everyone always, who's them? Who's them? Well, any bureaucrat who works in any department of any side of the government that decides that this particular information shouldn't get out. So because it shouldn't get out, we're going to make the links difficult to find. We will unlink them. We will bury the information, which is, by the way, all this is illegal. So I think that if we make those FOIA requests a lot easier to find, then they become easier to cite when someone wants to write an article. And so that's where I think it's interesting, because you take away the place where it's normally stored, but you keep a link to it in case they change something, because then you can make them accountable, because you can go back and say, why was this removed? Or why was this moved from this folder to this folder? And you could always mint a new NFT with wherever the new link is. So I think that there's a way to do it with Tezos. I'm certain of it because obviously you can mint PDFs on Tezos. So as long as I have a PDF of the file itself and that the file was legal to be uploaded, because I'm thinking of legal things. However, a whistleblower may have to release a document that is not, quote, that has not been released or isn't sanctioned yet. Different story. I don't know how I feel about it, but I would say that so long as, exactly, them is a wholly owned subsidiary of those guys and those people. Yeah, probably. So, ooh, exactly. So the title would be, I guess, the name of the document, and the URL would be linked when it's minted. And then you would say when the file was last accessed before it was minted. Of course, this would make it a nice repository so that if, let's say, someone else found a FOIA file and they minted it in their wallet, they could send a copy of it to the wallet with the collection of the FOIA remarks. So one cool way to do that would be, because you don't want it to be monetized in any way. Like, you don't want people to like, oh, I have this FOIA, but I won't give it to you unless you give me 20,000 Tezos. You don't want to do it that way. So what I would do is I would turn them into vast tokens. Like, so I would mint, let's just say that I wanted to release the FOIA document on the CIA's experiment with psychics. Yeah, they really did do that. So let's say that I wanted to release the FOIA document on the CIA experimenting on psychics, right? I would mint 1,000 copies of that, put it on my wallet, and then anyone could, I could send it to any other wallet because I have plenty of copies to send, Or I could make it an open edition that's free and then tell an entire group of people to go mint, and then each person would mint however many they needed to mint, and now they would have multiple copies. Exactly, MK Ultra. Absolutely. So, which people think don't exist. There's people in this world, Herb, that think that MK Ultra never happened. That it isn't real, and it's very real. Um, and it's not that's all dark stuff. They found some really interesting things, like the inner space stuff is pretty crazy. So anyway, so that would be my that's my immediate out of my head thinking is like one way to do it would be to print or mint 1,000 units of this PDF at like 0 so that anybody could have it for free. But they could also have like 2 or 3 copies in their own wallet that they can then send to someone else. And that would start the process of getting this information circulated so that it doesn't go away, so that it would be archived somewhere. So that when they rebuild the Earth, the AI units, when the AIs rebuild the Earth after the nuclear cataclysm, they could say those crazy humans, they did some crazy stuff to each other, and here are the files. Yeah, no, I don't want that future. So it's better if we stop them before they happen, right? Anyway, I know I'm being silly, but but in this decentralized world that I'm speaking of, what I think happens is it levels the playing field, which is what happened with MP3s. If you think about it, this is how that went down. MP3s come out. Suddenly, CD sales start to slow down, and the whole music industry is going crazy. They're trying to stop it. They're trying to sue people. They're trying to keep those sites from being up. Were they able to stop it? No. In fact, it created an entirely new ecosystem. Suddenly we had iPods and the portable MP3 players, which led us to streaming, which good or bad, the good and bad, it has its good and bad parts, but I'll argue for the good parts for the moment, where now all our devices can carry our entire library. That's cool. I can discover new bands. This would never have happened if the MP3 revolution hadn't happened. So we had to have this upset in the beginning to get to where we're at, which some would argue, we did get to some better things because obviously internet had to get faster because everybody wanted to stream. That actually pushed the technology to get faster. And I know this is a confession, but I really loved my CD Walkman. I know. But my point is that the technology got us to where we're at, good and bad. So on the plus side, it could be argued that it leveled some of the playing fields. So it allowed a lot of independent artists who didn't have $3,000 to print a CD, they could now go directly to Spotify. So I champion that stuff because I think that that's important. Everyone doesn't have cushy jobs or things that could get them to the point where they could print such things. For me, it took years of having like 2 jobs to get to the first record that we had to make. So, kids don't have to go through that kind of stuff now. They could basically put a studio together for under $500, and I would argue that they could probably put a studio together for under 100. I'm sure if I was pressed, I could literally price out a studio at $100 that could probably that someone could release a record with. So the idea is that this era naturally points to decentralization so that we don't have a centralized entity telling us what we can release or not release, which leads me to an interestingly bad news, but it's strange news. It's about Spotify. So Spotify, to give you an example, they recently made a change. And the change that Spotify made, basically any artist that doesn't have 10,000 followers or listeners, I should say, per month, they're not going to get paid anymore. What they're doing with them is they're going to, whatever they made, it'll just accumulate into an account. And when they reach that following, then they'll trigger a payment. That's not the way that it's been working thus far. You could be an artist that just joined and you put a song up and you'll get paid your 2 cents or whatever it is for your 100 streams or whatever. So how do I feel about that? Terrible. Because what I feel has happened is, in order for an artist now to get paid at all on Spotify, they have to surpass that 10,000 listener mark. If they don't, they're never getting paid. Now, that sucks, right? And it does suck. It does. On the other hand, I think it's going to push the technology into a different direction, which is they're not really thinking that they have competition at this point. This is what happens when you start to get monopolies, just like the record companies were the only ones producing CDs, so the independents were left out of the equation. And I would argue that vinyl was very similar, because vinyl started to get very expensive to make. So for me, I feel that this is it, in one sense, it sucks for the person who's starting out. On the other hand, it may push them in a different direction, which is, if you're an artist, and I'm speaking to you out there, if you're an artist now, and you've just made a new song and you want to put it on Spotify and you got 100 plays on it, okay, congratulate yourself on the back that you got it. That's cool, but that's only 100 plays. You're not going to get paid on it. So your focus, my advice would be, release your song on Tezos instead. Release your song on the decentralized web instead. Even though you may not get the plays that you want, you may be able to start building collections that you could actually make some money from. And that's, at least it's something. It isn't something that you're going to regret. You're going to have better followers. So I have a funny feeling that they're going to push people more into decentralization by that move. Because it's the major labels doing this, because they want a bigger cut for the major artists. So what they're doing is that artists that have over 100,000 followers and all of those people, they're going to get a little bit more money. Does that really seem fair? No, not to me. Anyway, it's being ironed out. They haven't released the full the full document hasn't been released yet, as far as I know. But it's just, this is where we're going, see? And recently when Bandcamp got bought, it's the same type of thing. We don't have enough competition out there. So what's going to happen when people want to sell things and now they're forced into, quote, centralized website, their own, but they have to keep that website on a centralized server. So that means if the music is, let's say, punkish, subversive, anti-government, are they going to be censored? Are dissenting voices going to be shut out of, creative dissenting voices be shut out of the conversation? To me, that's a problem. I feel that that's a problem. So, yeah. So this is why when I talk about cutesy things like NFTs having utilities that people haven't imagined yet, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about not just so that you have a cute little, animal PFP that sits in your Twitter account, or you're like, oh, I bought an ape for $300,000. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. When you collect art from an artist on Tezos, you are doing two things. One, you're solidifying that art will stay on the internet forever, for as long as there is an internet. You will have access to it. If that artist is ever censored, you still have that painting. You still have that audio. And to me, oh, thank you for that comment. Thank you. I would have to plan it because this is completely off the, this is off the cuff now. But but the idea is simple. The more you practice decentralization, the more I think you will enjoy it. In fact, hold on, let me show. I'm going to play a song, and then when I come back, I'm going to show you something. I've showed this before, but I think it bears to be seen. So I'm going to play the world without. We've come up on the hour and a half now, almost. So I'm going to play something so that nobody like goes away. I'll turn on the UFO cam for this one. But this is the world without love that I didn't get to play last week. The electro acoustic live version. So this is new to the channel.
If I heard you say the world is everything, I would be dreaming of living quietly. And if I heard you say the world's too cold to touch, I could change your mind with just a kiss. What are we gonna do? This way and you dance with me. Hopefully I can change the loneliness. 'Cause in your eyes I see the love to hide, hiding so deeply, always within you. What are we gonna do?
So I suppose by saying electroacoustic, you expected a lot of synths on it. But, oh, so, So before we continue the conversation, let me explain. So there's a version of this that appears on Mixology, but it's really bad because it was recorded with one microphone, just one mic. And it was live in the studio, and I've always wanted to fix it. because I thought it was that the voices were lovely. I thought, Danya's voice was really nice. And I thought, oh, the guitar, she's playing guitar on this. So I don't know if you know this, but this one, Danya's playing guitar and she's singing backup. I'm doing lead, and Keith Milo, then in Cause and Effect, was doing the keyboards. And he was going direct to the board, so he's like, his is the best sounding part. But one mic for basically Danya and I both singing and her guitar. So it's always been like pretty terrible. But using the AI stuff, I was able to separate the tracks so I could get and focus a little more attention on the guitar and try to really bring it out more. So you could hear her playing now, which is really nice. All warts. I left all the warts in there. I didn't fix anything or correct pitches or anything weird like that. I just wanted to have everything separate so that I could actually put a nice, like even the vocals, to give you an idea. They were recorded without compression, so they were all over the place. And in order for us to have a good mix, I had to, if I remember correctly, we had to lower the master gain so that it wouldn't clip on some of this. So obviously, it was one of these like you would have all these crazy spikes on the vocals. So I thought, man, if I could grab those vocals, I would recompress them. I would be able to at least mix them better into the guitar. And so I thought, I'm going to separate everything out using AI, clean them up, and then reconstitute the whole thing. And then, of course, I thought, well, now it's a new version. So what can I add? And I wanted to add a synth. So I added a bass, which wasn't there before, and a little bit of a synth sound that's in the background. I didn't want to change it too much, but I wanted to make it distinctly different from the version that, was on Mixology. So this one might wind up on the 12-inch in there somewhere, which, yes, I'm getting back to work on the 12-inch this next coming week. It's been rough, man, getting back to that 12-inch. I'm like, it's, you know what it is? It's that I have a bunch of mastering sessions I still have to do. And to do mastering sessions, I kind of have to get physically ready. I don't know if how you guys do it, but I have to get physically ready. To give you an idea of what goes down when I'm going to do a mastering session or even a mix session, I do literally a 2-hour cleaning of my ears, like with like drops and hot water. And I do like a full-on clearing of my ears. I won't do a mix session unless I've done like a full cleanse of my ears. Like, it's just the way I am. It's just like I'm a stickler for that. So when I get into like mastering stuff, even more so. And recently I've been trying to tune all my headphones and I've been going crazy trying to do all that. So because in this room, I have to mix on headphones. So I'm acclimating myself to that, and it's getting much better, I must say. So I will be finishing that 12-inch up soon. I'm almost done. But anyway, back to our conversation. But phone line is open. So if you decided that you want to like chime in on something that I said about this whole decentralized thingamajig, it is now on you to do so. So if you want to, you can give me a call. You can give me your opinion on decentralization, what you think. I certainly will listen to your opinion. And or you can just talk to me and ask me any question you want in general. And I'll do my best to answer it. But anyway, yeah, it's running, so it should be okay if I get a phone call. Meanwhile, I'll keep talking. So, I'm really thinking about trying this whole FOIA decentralized wiki type thing and putting it on Tezos just to see if it works. I may try it with something that's a little bit more fun. Not quite MK Ultra. I think that would be a bit heavy. But there's another one where your government, I don't know if you knew this, but your government was actually studying out of body experiences, and they were documenting all the things that they found in these other realms that they were exploring. And it's just really funny to read these government documents where these people are like literally saying we could train the soldiers in these different realms, and they can bring back techniques that they learned from these other beings. That this is your government, you know. So I thought it would be funny to start with something like that. So I'm going to look for that one because I have it somewhere in my collection of FOIA documents, and I think that's going to be one of the first ones I mint. Maybe I'll mint it along with a piece of art or something just to make it tasty. But it's one of those things where I do believe in decentralization. I really do. So, yeah. So, there's the number. Anyone? Now I'm thinking like, did I forget to do it? Did I forget to turn it on? Oh boy. I don't know. Maybe nobody wants to talk to me tonight. That's okay. You don't have to. No one says you have to, but it's there. Oh man. Dude. We are Devo. Dude, that's a super, super, super chat. Oh my God, man. Oh man, that's awesome. Like, thank you for that, man. Seriously. Wow. That is really, really awesome of you, man. Thank you. Oh, and we have a phone call. Yes, allow.
Herb B.
To accept.
You get to hear all the bloopy noises as I do it too. Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Is this Herb?
It's Herb B. Yes, it is.
How are you, man?
Long time listener, second time caller.
Thank you for the call.
Oh, no problem. Listen, so question, do you know about the CIA with LSD and the Manson family?
Oh yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like that's the funny thing is that when you go back and look at these things, most people will look at you like you're a crazy person. They'll say that never happened. And it's like you can look up the documents.
We're not crazy right now.
Yeah. Yeah. We cannot get crazier than we are right now. We don't even need FOIA requests to see it. So
right.
But yeah, no, it's crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff.
The only thing I'm upset about that I wasn't offered a part in the trial, but I was a little young.
Oh man.
But the reason they started doing all this was because of the Nazis and their obsession with it, like Hitler's obsession with the occult.
Yep.
And so they felt like they had no choice. It's like South Park. South Park did it perfectly with the Saddam Hussein in heaven. With he had the factory. What did he say? It was like an ice cream factory or something. I forget what it was, but
now you made me want to go back and watch all of those.
Just in case, yeah. So in case the Nazis are right about the occult, we have to be there first.
Exactly. And this was the thinking, right? Like if someone's going to dabble in this, we're going to dabble in it too to find out what's it all about. The only difference, though, see, this is what I find interesting. The only difference, though, is that they never use volunteers. They're like, we're just gonna.
Well, now you're getting technical. Yeah.
Like we're not going to use volunteers. Like we need to test the results.
Houses,
yeah, exactly.
Dosing the guys. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That to me is the funny part. Is that, well, I say funny, but it's a very dark way of thinking, right? It's like, we need to test out.
Kind of funny,
yeah, it's a certain kind of funny, but it's like, oh, we need to test these bacteria out. Where can we do? Oh, yeah, the subway in New York. Let's just put it there, and then we'll just study everybody and see how they act.
Yeah. Well, the Japanese hung prisoners' arms out the window to freeze them, and then hit them with a hammer.
Oh,
geez. What happened?
Oh my God. Yeah. See, that's what I mean.
And people are just not good.
I know they're not. And even and I dare say it, even our own people. So it is something that's rather it's dark parts of our history. But the part that bothers me the most, I think, is not so much that these things happened, but that they continue to happen, and people want to think, but that was then. No one would even dare to do that now. I'm like, why would they care? They did it they did it covertly then. What makes you think they wouldn't do it covertly now? Like,
Yeah.
what would stop anyone from doing something like that? Wasn't covert. There's no reason. They're like, oh, because they got caught. I'm like, they consistently get caught.
Exactly. That's why. Yeah. Oh, look at COVID. Remember the COVID thing where the unvaccinated were the problem? They were the others. People wanted to arrest them and round them up.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
that was, it's cliched now at this point to say they're like Nazis, but it was the same thing.
Yeah, I know.
Othering people,
It was pretty
so-
bad.
Yeah. I mean, thank God we shaved as far as apes go, but
Yeah.
it's a lot better.
I know. So no, I agree with you. So yeah, mitigation during the 2020 situation was pretty bad. So
Yeah.
who's to say that they didn't experiment on the populace quite a bit? You know what I mean? So anyway, my point is that
Well, literally they did, because they didn't test. They tested on like 6 mice and this guy Joe that needed money for, heroin, and that was it.
Yeah. So, well, that's a problem, right? So when we get those FOIA requests, or when we get those fulfilled, right, and we have all those handy, and they don't want that to be handy. That's it. Now they're like, well, we're not sure that you need that information. I'm like, no, I want to know why.
Well, they're sure we don't need it. Yeah. But that's why the NFT idea is good, because, if you put out an NFT with the information, you send it to somebody, they can remint it and send it, and, you can know that it came from the right source.
Yep. Exactly. So I'm liking the idea. I think I'm going to have to try it as an experiment. Watch, I'm going to have people knocking on my
what's the worst
door.
that could happen? This guy takes you to Gitmo?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I have a side story. I'm going to share it with everybody, but since you're calling from New York, I'm going to, because you're in New York, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
not bragging, trust me.
So when I was living in Fullerton, California, I had a neighbor who was a dentist. He was a really nice
Where
guy.
in California? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was in California.
What part?
Yeah, in Fullerton. So like Orange
Oh, okay.
County.
I was in Anaheim.
And it was during the time, it was during 9/11, right? So 9/11 happened, and I had this dentist who was living next door, and they were Middle Eastern. I don't know from where. I just know they were Middle Eastern. They were very nice people. But it was within 4 days, and I'm not even kidding, 4 days from the incident, I get a knock on my door, and there are 2 FBI agents at my door. I'm not shitting you. This is a real story. So
No, I
the
believe
first,
it, yeah. I've
yeah.
heard
So the
other
first
stories
thing they
like
do
this, yeah.
is they give me their
100%.
card, and I'm like, whoa, did I do something? Because I was pretty outspoken about stuff. But remember, this was like 4 days or
Heard
3
you were
days
on that.
after. So no time for speculation, basically. But anyway, so there they are. There's these 2 FBI agents. They give me their cards, and they're like, can we come in for a minute? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, what's going on? And the first thing they start asking me is, what do you know about your neighbors? And I'm like, what? I'm like, he's a dentist. I'm like, I know he's a dentist. He goes to work every day. He comes back. He's a really nice guy. He's old. And they were like, well, have you ever heard them, discussing anything that may seem, out of kilter, just these weird questions.
Right, yeah, just fishing.
And I
For
was
anything.
like, no, there's nothing going on here. I'm like, they're a nice family. They were very, very nice, and blah, blah. So we talk, right? They leave. But I
They
got to
ask about
tell you,
nuclear codes, but other than that,
yeah, but this is the funny thing. From then on, every time our phone rang in our house, through my own phone line, I could hear my neighbors speaking. Like I could literally hear them speaking through my phone was acting as a microphone into their house.
wow.
I kid you not. This is real.
They didn't spring for the good wiretaps.
Yeah, they didn't
You got
spring
the
for the
Amazon
good
brand.
ones. They had a leak. So what I think
Wow.
is that they installed wiretaps within my apartment so that they could spy on the neighbors, but I could hear what they were talking about all the time. And I felt slightly embarrassed because it was like they're
Yeah, a little
arguing,
bit.
about stuff, and they're arguing in a language I don't understand. But it's that funny thing where you're like, is there something to this? Like, could I be living next door to like spies or something? Like, and this is how they do it?
Yeah.
Like, is this
We've all seen
possible?
movies.
Yeah, of course. And so your mind goes, right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
never have believed it had it not happened, like with my own experience. Like there they were, FBI agents. I still have the card somewhere. I
crazy.
swear I do. I have the card somewhere.
Yeah, I know.
So crazy
Yeah.
stuff, man.
When I was in the
So
Navy, they came and talked to my friends in high school to do my clearance. They knock on every door they feel like knocking on.
yeah, that's right. They do.
Whether they have something or not.
Exactly,
crazy.
exactly. So I'm gonna let you decide what the next track's gonna
Yeah, I'll hang up now so you can talk to everybody.
be. So what do you want to hear?
All right, good times. Bye.
Oh, we just lost him. Okay, he could have done it. All right, last 15 minutes. We're just gonna bulldoze through some music. Ah, Carlos, you have the great question. How would the FBI install wiretaps on your phones without you watching? Ah, you're right. They wouldn't. But what I think they did is they tapped the phone lines themselves on the roof because suddenly, I'm telling you, I could hear every time my phone rang and I picked it up. If the neighbors were having a conversation in their kitchen, it was coming through my phone and I could hear them. No, seriously, it was like unbelievable. You could hear it. So, anyway. So I've got 2 requests for the ending, but we're almost there. But I'm going to play 2 more. And then, so this one's from Stereo TV. This is It's My Time. Everything will be all right. Will it? I'm not sure. Maybe. All right. And then I'll go find your, I'll find your tracks hopefully within that time.
It's my time to find my soul up there and always in my side. I guess you know the tide is turning around again. They say it's going to be the longest day about just history. Everything will be the longest day we've ever known. Maybe I should run for help, but I don't give a damn, 'cause I'm not there. I am afraid. Do you know what is true these days? I'm scared. Do you think that I'm lonely? Yeah, yes, it's gonna be alright. Yes, it's gonna be alright. Yes, it's gonna be alright. When it's over, you and I will float downstream.
Ha. Uh-oh. Ah, did I lose the internet? No, we didn't lose the interwebs. Good. Ooh, I got scared. So it's been behaving quite well, hasn't it? While I was gone in Chicago, by the way, they came and they rewired the roof because it turns out there was a cable box up there that was all messed up. Of course, the FBI was tapping me, but that's okay. But they fixed it. So interwebs have been fantastic for the last week. In fact, I've been rather enjoying the internet in the last couple of days. So I've been looking at how it's been performing, and it's been awesome. So I don't know. I'm quite happy about that. So anyway, here's Carmen Acoustic because it was also requested, and then I'll end off the evening with the other songs I had picked. But this one, I like this one. This is the acoustic English for Sirius XM mix. I don't know what that means, but this is the one. Carmen. Live. Listen for the samples. It's fun.
There was a girl who used to live at the gray house by the bridge at the end of the empty world. Carmen's the name that evokes the fear and shame from the people that she left behind. She had the spirit to live a life so free. Although many people wanted to clip her wings, she ran away. She broke away the chains that they wrapped around her heart. The people said, out of all the things she's done, the
Oh man, thank you so much for those super chats. By the way, thank you. That's really awesome of you. We are all Devo and Sue and anyone else I didn't see who gave it to me because I can't. It scrolls by so fast. Thank you for that. Next week, I'm gonna have more reasons for people to actually call in. I'm gonna give away stuff next week. But so once again, there was a collectible for this evening on Tezos, but yes, you can get posters of it as well. Check the anythingbox.com site and you will see. Oh, Herb, thank you for that, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love being here. It's my favorite way to spend Friday night. It makes me very happy because without you, there would be no me. And so it's my way of showing my appreciation and educating myself from you all and giving back as much as I can. So thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it, especially when you show up here. It's nice. It's a nice hang. I like it. But yes, for next week, topics are open. You can do it early by commenting on the video tomorrow when I post it. You can follow me on X. You can follow me on Facebook at the Anything Box page. Obviously, subscribe on YouTube. We're almost there. I don't know how many more we got tonight, but I'm going to be doing some crazy shilling this week because I have to try to get that number up. So I'm going to be promoting the shows and stuff too. So I do have shows coming up. You can get them. You can find out where you can get tickets and all that stuff. And I hope to see you at shows. That's a completely different type of connection, but that's my whole life. I love doing shows. So, oh, thank you, Constantinos. Yes, I'm glad you dropped by to catch the end of the stream. You're always welcome, Constantinos, always. So, I'm going to end, apropos, this stream with a song from the second Diary album. And it's the second to last song that basically closes the album. And is one of my favorites. I've been trying to figure out a way that I can make this into an Anything Box song that I could play live without the guitars and all that stuff. So it's one that I've been experimenting with on and off. But I don't know. Now I'm thinking that because of the whole AI thing, I may be able to do a weird mix of it. Although I should still have all the 20. I'm talking to myself as I'm talking to you. But yeah, I'm playing a lot with old stuff to get it up to get Bandcamp up to speed, Boxcamp as I've been calling it, thanks to you. But thank you so much for joining me this week. It's nice that the interwebs behaved, and oh yeah, we'll play that one next week. And I will see you next week. I hope that you're all here next week. Anyway, tell people about how crazy this thing is and how weird your host is. And anyway, stay in touch. Be nice to each other. Or nicer, if that's not possible. And I will see you next week. I leave you with the second to last song on the separate album. And this one's called Everything Ends. And after that, I will bid you all good night.
After thinking madness on the bus, thought I'd walked into a wall. Cause everything in its place, meaningless into space. What to say, so behave, what is wrong anyway? Close the door, set a fire, turn the lights for a while. Everything is bittersweet, melodies and then it fades. Everything ends, but no one pays attention. Happens all the time. Everything ends, but no one pays attention. Happens all the time. searching for sympathy, urgency, decency, all the while in agony. Everything ends but no one pays attention, happens all the time. Everything ends but no one pays attention, happens all the time. It happens all the time. All this dying all around, hardly loud but it makes sound, screaming all within my head. Listen to the voice that says everything ends but no one pays attention, happens all the time. Everything ends but no one pays attention, happens all the time. Everything ends but no one pays attention, happens all the time. Everything ends but no one pays attention, happens all the time. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Happens all the time.
And with that, good night.
I'm part of it. Can't you see it?